proud to see Hindi being taught in Australian schools as well at the moment.
Not just schools,
Not just schools.
preschools.
Preschools as well,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. At preschool, using that app to learn Hindi before they even start school.
There will be no difference between to study in a school at India or in Australia.
There are many Indians who have come to Australia as professors, as academics, working in our universities. In Australia, we have lots of public schools, we have lots of Catholic schools, lots of Muslim schools, Jewish schools, even Buddhist schools. But there is no Hindu school. The Hindu Council have a proposal there to establish the first Hindu primary school in Australia. And I think it's a great proposal.
Voice Aajkal, our medium, your message.
Good day, everyone. My name is Navneet Anand from Voice Aajkal, our medium, your message. I begin with acknowledging the traditional custodian of the land and pay my respects to the elders, past, present, and emerging. Today, here in Sydney, as I normally say, education is the right of every child. And today, here in Sydney, I have got Minister of Education from India, Mr. Dharmendra Pradhan, Minister of Education from Australia, Mr. Jason Clare. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
You know, strengthening the education and skill links between India and Australia. I think this is the fourth time you two are meeting in the last 2 years. Any remembrance of the first meeting?
Oh, yeah. We met for the first time 2 years ago. My dear friend Dharmendra came to Parramatta in Western Sydney, and Western Sydney University hosted us. And we also went to my old university, the University of New South Wales. And I remember that meeting very, very well. Dharmendra gave us a challenge. He told me about Prime Minister Modi's ambition to transform India with education, about his ambition to make sure that 50% of young people in India are in tertiary education, what we call TAFE or university. And Dharmendra asked for our help. He put a challenge out to Australian universities to come to India and to collaborate with Indian universities to help make that vision a reality. And 2 years on, we can now start to see that come to life. Deakin University have set up a campus in India. Wollongong University have set up a campus in India. And in our meetings over the last 2 days, we're talking to other universities about coming to India as well.
You know, normally, Mr. Pradhan, it was said India and Australia has got one thing in common, that was cricket. But now I can proudly say it is education.
Beyond that, aspiration of younger generation is the new bridge between Australia and India. This brings us together. And if you ask us how many times you met, what was your memory? Let me put you another fact. Since last 2 years, both of our leaders, Prime Minister Albanese and Prime Minister Modi, met for 10 times.
10 times.
Wow.
This is the new relationship. And if I say, not only two university, Australian university opened their campus in India, there are a lot more. One TAFE went to India. They set up their campus in Gujarat. Now we are engaging with Australian counterpart, with my dear friend Mr. Clare, on school education, how to build the capacity of teachers. We now engage in vocational education and skill development and training. If I cite one statistics in front of you, since last 10 years, what did we achieve? There is 470% growth in the joint publication by Indian and Australian researcher. This is the new height. And today, we discuss the further cooperation with 7 important universities of Australia. They forming a consortium. University Innovation Research University Forum is planning to go to India to create more center of excellence, to create a campus, to find global solutions for the global challenges. This is the new responsibility of Australia and India. through education cohort.
So this is very exciting. For the first time ever, 7 universities want to come together to create a campus in India where they're each offering different courses in their area of speciality. But it's only possible because of the changes to the law in India that my friend Dharmendra and Prime Minister Modi have made, saying, Australia, come to India and work with us. And I'm so glad that Australian universities have heard the call and responded.
Because we have promised in National Education Policy 2020, we will internationalize our education.
Right.
It is not mere words of Prime Minister Modi. We have reformed our policy. Now we are opening up our policy. Now global institutions are coming to India to open their campuses to bring global practices to India. And Australia, I can say frankly, Australia is the leader of that movement.
I normally say world is a global village and India is becoming the hub of it. So the pool of talent that we're going to generate out of this collaboration is going to be beyond imagination. Thank you so much.
Think about this. Dharmendra knows this, but if the ambition that Prime Minister Modi has set that half of all young Indians are at university or at vocational education within 10 years, what that means is that 1 in every 4 people who gets a university degree on the entire planet in 2035 will get that degree in India. So that gives you an idea of how important India is and how it is the hub for skills and for education for the world to come.
Because we have advantage right now, for the next 25 years, India will be a country of young people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What I feel proud of myself to being an Australian citizen of the Indian heritage. I myself came as an international student in February 1995, and sitting here with 2 wonderful gentlemen here is absolutely a privilege. Mr. Pradhan, you had a visit to Melbourne, I think, a day before. What has been the outcome of it?
Yesterday, we had a very fruitful discussion with my dear friend, Mr. Jason Clare, Education Minister of Australia. We visited schools.
Mhm.
We visited, yesterday there was we visited RMIT. RMIT is now tie up with BITS Pilani. They will, for the first time, they are envisioning a course 2+2. 2 years student will study at BITS Pilani. That batch will come to RMIT, and 1 batch of RMIT student will go to BITS Pilani for 2 years.
Okay, so it'll be exchange program
With
between the
dual
2
degree.
places. Lovely.
And 2 degrees. You get a degree from RMIT
It's a
and
dual degree, twinning degree. This is a new instrument we are now bridging between Australia and India. And also we visited the great university Monash. Already in Monash, IIT Mumbai and Monash, there is a very solid research relation between both of them. Taking forward that, we visited a few important incubation centers. We visited the nanotechnology workshop. And universities are the new gateway of new age economy, knowledge-based economy. We study the ecosystem, how Australia is preparing itself, creating a network between students, academia, industry, and policymaker. India is very focused on that area. There are more than 100 important institutions in India, those who are creating research park, more network with industry. Australia is a knowledge partner in a way, I can say, in this journey for India.
I feel proud to see Hindi being taught in Australian schools as well at the moment, Mr. Pradhan.
Yes.
not just schools,
Not just schools.
preschools.
Preschools as well,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. There are preschools. I think there's more than 100 preschools across Australia now with the benefit of an app called Ella, where children who, before they've even started school, and Hindi might be their first language that they learn at home, but they can get even more skills at childcare, at preschool, using that app to learn Hindi before they even start school.
Let me put my view on this issue. I think Australia is going to the first country, overseas country outside India, who is making a plan policy, well-thought policy to put Hindi, a foreign language for them, as a major language, major option in front of its population for those who are of Indian heritage origin, they can now opt. There will be no difference between to study in a school at India or in Australia. Today, we visited a school in the morning in the prep school where kids were very proudly talking in Hindi.
Mr. Clare, after visiting India for a few times and having met Mr. Pradhan 4 times, have you picked up some of the Hindi words of your own?
No, not yet, not yet. And I'm conscious. I got the privilege to visit India twice last year, twice in 1 year, and I've been to India before that. But I still feel like it's just the beginning, because India is such a large country, such a country that you cannot understand with just 2 short visits, which is one of the reasons why I'll be back next year to continue to work on this relationship.
So I would be looking forward to pick few.
Yes,
That's
yeah. And that's part of, I guess, a sign of how strong the relationship is. Prime Minister Modi and Albanese have annual meetings, but we have annual meetings at an education level as well. It is one of the great pillars of the relationship between Australia and India is education. It always has been. International students coming to Australia to study. It's one of the reasons why there are now almost 1 million Indian Australians, and that number has doubled in the last decade. Think
One
about
of
that. And will continue to grow. But now we want to make sure that it's not just students coming here to study, but it's Australian universities coming to India to help as well.
The new STEM research fellowship program for women, if you can throw some light on that.
Well, last night, maybe by way of background, last night we met with Australian Indian professors from many different universities across the country. And there are many Indians who have come to Australia as professors, as academics, working in our universities, doing extraordinary things in Australia, but also doing extraordinary things between Australia and India. One of them made the point last night that Australia has a challenge in making sure that we encourage and attract more women, more girls into STEM. It's not a problem in India. Have a look at the schools in India, have a look at the universities in India, go to an engineering class, and you will find as many girls as there are boys. It is a challenge in Australia like it is in the United States and in many other countries like the UK, where girls and women are told maybe that's not the career path for them. And so we're doing a number of different things as an Australian government, both at schools but at universities too, to help to encourage and support more girls and more women into STEM. We don't create enough STEM professionals in Australia, and one of the ways to address that are through programs like that.
This is India's advantage. If I inform you, India is at the top in this girls' STEM education.
Absolutely.
Around 40+% students. This is the highest among the world. It's even more than USA and UK. More girl students in India are getting into STEM. This is strength of India.
It's a superpower.
Absolutely. We normally say education is an asset for one to carry for the rest of the life. Educating a woman is basically educating the generations to come. There was a beautiful story I was hearing about a girl called Khushbu. If you can tell a bit more.
Well, and the High Commissioner told me this story about what Khushbu means in Hindi.
It's a fragrance.
Yes, that's right. It's a beautiful smell, right? And this is a beautiful story. This is a story that I heard when I was with Dharmendra last year in Delhi about a little girl who was left on a train by her parents when she was 4 years old. Her parents were unable to care for her, and they were hoping that if they left her on the train, that someone would come and find her and save her life, give her a different life, a better life. And she was found by the people at the Salam Balak Trust. And they provided her with shelter and with food. and they provided her with accommodation. So they also provided her with something else, an education.
Education.
And I got to meet that young woman.
Okay.
Instead of perishing, she thrived. And she went on to become a fashion designer in Paris, but also in some of the great fashion houses in Delhi, and now she's starting her own business. And so that reminds us, it's one story, but it reminds us about the power of education to change lives. And when we get the settings right, it doesn't just change one life, it can change a nation. That's what it's done in Australia. When I was a little boy, very few people finished school. Now most people finish school. Very few people went to university. Now almost 1 in 2 people in their 20s and 30s have a university degree. And it's changing India too. And it's because of the leadership of Prime Minister Modi and my dear friend Dharmendra Pradhan that vision is becoming a reality.
Mr. Pradhan, how can we collaborate more efficiently to have this relationship taken to the next level?
In the Australia-India Education Skill Council, we're meeting for the second time. When we met for the first time, I have proposed, my dear friend, we must have a proper framework to discuss the major challenges, major issue in front of us. Rightly, he agreed and he took permission of his boss, his Honorable Prime Minister. With consent of my Prime Minister, now today, there is institutional framework between both the countries. When discussing about school, we're discussing about vocational and skill education, we're discussing about higher education, we're discussing about innovation, we're discussing about research, we're discussing from A to Z, everything.
Now,
Education is the mothership of the society, is the mother of all departments. So education is the fulcrum of society, the societal development and generational change. Exactly both the democracy, Australia and India, are focusing on this area. We are meeting here for the second time in this council. This will be a continuous process. We have created the institutional framework. Time will tell what kind of achievement these two countries will achieve.
Looking forward to the wonderful results that we're going to have. Talking about international students, I think there's a prediction of capping for students from India as well next year. What I could see, the capping has been done institution-wise. But is the number that we are going to decide for the countries as well?
No, there's no cap for countries. There's a cap for institutions. There's a de facto cap at the moment with the way that the Department of Home Affairs process people. It's helped some universities and hurt others. And so I think there's a better way to do it to make sure that all universities benefit, but also in a way that I think will benefit India, because most Indian students go to non-Group of 8 universities.
Absolutely, yes.
And so what we want to do is make sure that we process visas quickly, but we also make sure that we don't have students come from just one country. And we think that this will benefit India.
I think there's a bill that has been submitted to the Senate at the moment, which is still waiting for decisions to be done. I think things like stopping the education providers from owning the agencies.
There's integrity changes there too, to make sure that when a student comes to Australia that they get a good education. What we don't want is people come here full of excitement with their dreams crushed by getting a bad experience. We want to make sure that everything Australia promises they live up to. And we have had examples where people have come here, started a degree, and then somebody convinces them to switch from the degree to a different course at a vocational provider. It's not good for them. It's not good for the university either. And it just becomes a backdoor to get a job rather than an education. So we want to make sure we protect the integrity of the system so people, whether they're in India or anywhere else in the world, know that Australia is a very good place to come to get an education. So lots of measures to protect integrity, but also the measures there to make sure that we protect Australian community support for international education as well.
I do see your point of keeping the integrity intact for the right reasons, but at the same time, there could be some of the student or a small percentage of students who are not capable to do the bachelor's degree at this point of time. They may want to follow the path of diploma leading to degrees.
Yeah, or sometimes they do what's called a pathway course.
Pathway courses.
So they come to Australia and they might do a 6-month course where they get all of the skills they need to start the degree. And that's part of this new system that we're setting up as well. One important point that Dharmendra has raised with me a number of times is the idea of these twinning degrees, 2+2,
2+2.
because they provide you with an opportunity to study in a country, in two countries, 2 degrees, but also shorter time if you can't afford to stay for a long period of time. And we made it very, very clear in the legislation and in the caps that we've set up that they are excluded from the caps. So they will not be part of this. And so those students are protected. If they do 2 years at BITS Pilani in India, and then they come here to do the extra 2 years at RMIT, they won't be caught by that system. They'll be on top of that.
Well, thank you so much for giving up the time on giving me insight of the both sides of the stories. I hear that there is a dinner being organized by Hindu Council. Any special announcement that coming up?
No special announcement that I can share in particular, but one point to make. The Hindu Council do enormously important work here in Australia. And Hinduism is the fastest growing religion in Australia at the moment. And when you think about all of the different schools in the schooling system in Australia, we have lots of public schools, we have lots of Catholic schools, lots of Muslim schools, Jewish schools, even Buddhist schools. But there is no Hindu school. And the Hindu Council have a proposal. They've bought some land in Western Sydney to establish the first Hindu primary school in Australia. And I think it's a great proposal. And it's one that I'm working very closely with the Hindu Council on. I said to Dharmendra this morning when we were talking about this, I hope that when he comes back to Australia in 2 years' time, that we can go and visit that school, either cut a ribbon or see the children in that school, a school which will be using the Australian curriculum, but will have all the benefits of teaching Hindu culture and faith in the one school for the children that attend it.
Thank you so much.
I'm happy. Entire system from Australia is celebrating Diwali.
Yes.
Now, happy Diwali. Congregations are organized by important person of Australia in the provincial level also. So on this auspicious occasion of Diwali, I greetings my friend Mr. Clare. Happy Diwali.
Thank you very much, and happy Diwali to everybody that's watching at the moment.
Thank you so much, Minister of Education from India, Mr. Dharmendra Pradhan, Minister of Education for Australia, Mr. Jason Clare. My name is Navneet Anand, signing out for Voice Aajkal, our medium, your message. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
VG Times. Be with the times.